What a weekend it was. There was kickoff and then normal match. But we get down to the last 5 minutes of regular time. Boom. Everything decides to go crazy. And, from our perspective, not in a good way. It's mostly late-breaking heartache today on Coffee with a Kick. Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. We're here on the other side of Matchday 9. And I gotta say, things were looking rather dire until Sunday rolled around. And then things got better for me. Keegan, not so much. Favorites, it's even worse. It was a late breaking, I think is how I will describe it. A late breaking weekend of EPL action with things not breaking in our direction, I might add. Any superlatives on your side there before we kick it off with this first one we have up? The first miss we have up?
Oh, I mean, the only superlative I can give myself is how poor I did. Just poor performance of the weekend.
Yeah. It was not great. We'll get to the fine details of it here in just a moment. But we'll start off with the first one, our second Friday match of the year after the kickoff. Leicester City drops all three to Nottingham Forest 3-1. And it was not a very good showing from Leicester City in total against a side that they're looking to get points, especially at home.
Yeah, this one, as a text I sent to my fellow compatriot here, Xander, was Leicester was kind of making Chris Wood look like prime Erling Haaland early in that second half. He was spinning and shooting, not any angle whatsoever, but Leicester just did not defend well. And then a poor back pass, a nice bouncing ball lands right at Chris Wood's head. Leicester, it seemed like they just could not get anything going in the final third. So kudos to Nottingham for getting a crucial 3 points away. I mean, very shocking to me.
Yeah, I mean, I keep bashing on Nottingham Forest, but you look at their spot on the table, they're in 7th. What are they doing up there? It's the quarter season breakdown we'll get to once we're done with all the matches, but our positions have not improved from the last time we checked. They have indeed gotten worse as far as average pick placement from our preview, but I think things will correct over the course of time. We'll get to that in a moment. First, we'll move from this Friday match to the first one on Saturday. Aston Villa draws Bournemouth 1-1. Here's the first of our late-breaking reversals. We both missed the Leicester City and Nottingham Forest one, and we both missed this one as well because we thought Aston Villa would win, and they were up until 90+6 with that Evan Ilson goal there from Marcus Tavernier. Disappointing from Aston Villa. A lot of yellow cards splattered throughout this one, but no reds, surprisingly. And yeah, Villa just weren't able to hold home serve on it.
Yeah, interesting match because Villa really dominated most of it. The fact that they only got one goal is shocking. They just couldn't finish in front of the goal. Bournemouth did a good job of blocking shots. But if you're Aston Villa, dropping a couple of points at home, that's a big deal. It does kind of feel like after their Bayern victory, winning last weekend, they were kind of due for maybe a drop-off in performance, and I think we saw that this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They've been stringing together results across the board, and they slip up against Bournemouth. And the only good news is that some of the other teams up at the top of the table did as well, but we'll get to them much later on in this episode. I mean, much later on, just because it's the last match of the week. Then we go to a goal fest of 4-3 Brentford and Ipswichtown. Again, 2 in a row here where things just did not go our way in the end. You had a draw, which was good up until the very end, and I had Ipswichtown winning, which they were at one point. 2-0, as a matter of fact. But that red card there in the 69th minute really helped seal the Brentford comeback at that point.
Yeah, pretty interesting match because Ipswich Town down 3-2.
Did
They
come
go
back
on red
momentarily.
card, and then it's like, what are they going to do? It's 3-2. We're down to 10 men, and Delap gets that goal in the 86th minute. I thought it was over at that point, but
Yeah.
I forgot Brentford have Brian Mbuemo. He scores within 20 seconds of games, and now he scores in the last 20 seconds of
Yeah.
games. He The possession stats, I think, are a little misleading due to the red card. Brentford had 65%, but a majority of that came after the red card. So it really was an even match.
Yeah.
And Ipswich, I mean, you got to feel bad for them not getting the three, or not getting a point
Anything.
after Delap gets the equalizer so late.
Yeah. They've got a chance to stay up. They just have to have some things break their way, Ipswich Town. And they just haven't so far this season. You'd have liked to get this point away from home. But, Mbuemo caps off this to get the 4-3. I mean, Brentford would have been very disappointed if they had let a 10-team Ipswich Town come back into it, which they did. I mean, technically they did. They just were able to seal off the deal there at the Mbuemo goal at the very, very death of it.
Yeah, there are two post-match insights I'll share.
Oh.
This is the first time Brentford have ever recovered from 2+ goals down to win a Premier League match.
Wow.
They've drawn 2 of them and lost 29 out of the 31. And Ipswich's Harry Clark became just the second player in Premier League history to score an own goal, concede a penalty, and be sent off in the same match. So Harry Clark,
the first
trifecta.
Wow. I don't know what you give him for that. You give him the dirty boot?
I think you just give him the day off. He's had enough.
Give him the day off. Well, guess what? He gets the next match day off. The next 2, in fact. So we'll see how Ipswich Town rebounds this next weekend. But first we get to another late-breaking... If you know there's a trend here, another late-breaking match that goes against our picks. This time, though, I'm not too mad about it because my Wolves managed to draw Brighton 2-2 with 2 goals coming in the... 88th minute, Ait-Nouri gives us a bite at the apple. 90+3, Cunha just kind of hits it, and it bounces into the back of the net, and we were able to coast out from there to the end. It wasn't pretty, but a point is a point. We are now no longer in 20th. Things are looking up for my Wolves.
Yeah, 1-0 for most of the match. And it wasn't a snoozer, but it wasn't the most exciting. And then within 8 minutes, it's 2-2. But Wolves, away from home, getting 2 goals in 5 minutes at the end. Kudos to them. Like I said, the goals are going to come for the Wolves. They're going to start getting results. Even though it's a draw, I think this is a huge momentum swing for the rest of the season.
Big confidence booster going into, as I've said many times before, a portion of the schedule that we might actually be able to expect some points. Then to the next one here, which we did get right, but only just. Manchester City ekes out a 1-0 victory at home against Southampton. So, taking Manchester City a goal and a half, not the best decision apparently. But Erling Haaland gets his goal in the 5th minute, breaks his 3-game goalless stretch in the Premier League. He had scored in the Champions League, but that doesn't count for the Premier League if you didn't know. And then, not a lot else happened.
Yeah, this felt like one of those matches where City have just played so much over the last 3 to 4 weeks that they just kind of got up early and cruised a little bit. Southampton played very organized defense. Offense, not so great. They wasted their 2 shots on target, but definitely not the 5-1 that I predicted. No. But as a City
it could have been. It could have been if Manchester City had just done anything right in front of goal. 22 shots, only 8 on target. That's not their usual conversion rate.
No, it was a very atypical match, but it ends in a victory, so I won't be too mad.
Yeah. If only I hadn't taken them goal and a half. Then to wrap up Saturday, stop me if you've heard this before, but late breaking goal Red messes up our picks again. Fulham was leading 1-0 going into stoppage time, and then good old Beto got himself, not Beto O'Rourke, the once Democrat candidate for Senate in Texas who liked to skateboard and eat dirt. But this Beto in the Premier League scores a 90+4, assisted by Ashley Young, to once again ruin our picks.
I have nothing else to say. I did not think we were going to get a Beto O'Rourke reference in this episode, so that I'll just leave it at that. I have nothing to say about this match.
Yeah, we were expecting somebody to win this one. You were on one side, I was on the other. I almost got a perfect pick out of it, a 1-0 victory for Fulham, but just the stoppage time. And that brings us to the end of Saturday, and up through Saturday, we combined had one thing correct, and that was that Manchester City had won. We were we were losing to the favorites because they at least got Nottingham Forest being correct. But other than that, we were coasting on, was it -1, 2, 3, 4, almost -5 points out of 6 matches. So -5 units out of 6 matches. So that was not promising. But then we move into Sunday, and like I said in the first couple moments here, Sunday things went better for me, and they weren't so late breaking. Chelsea beats Newcastle 2-1. First off, which is a pick that I had. I had them winning by more, but they still won. They did not draw like you had suspected, with a goal from Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson. Assisted by Pedro Neto. Alexander Isak got one back in the 32nd minute in between the Chelsea goals. And then just after the Cole Palmer one, not a lot else. Especially if you're looking at Newcastle. Only 3 total shots on goal the whole match. So Chelsea, I mean, they probably could have won this by a greater margin than they did. But a 2-1 victory does just as well in the end.
Yeah, there in the second half, there was a potential penalty that was overturned by VAR, so it could have been 3-1 had that not been overturned. But yeah. Chelsea looked the better side. Again, it was the Chelsea team that could be a top 4, top 5 team that showed up today. Last week, we saw the team that might not even finish 10th. So the youngsters might be figuring it out, or they're just as volatile as their TikTok feeds. Probably. So take that with what you will. I just can't believe Newcastle couldn't find another goal in the second half.
Yeah, I barely even tried, really, is what it comes down to. And then, Crystal Palace caught someone. Now, was it a 1-0 victory was not what I had. Jean-Philippe Mateta got his goal, assisted by Eze in the 31st minute. And then Tottenham just couldn't get their attack together. I mean, they had the majority of possession, 66.5%, but only 11 shots on goal. Postecoglou just could not get the boys corralled into a cohesive attack. And Crystal Palace comes away with full honors.
Yeah, the post-match insight for this one is Tottenham have failed to win any of their 4 away London derby matches in the Premier League in 2024. They failed to score in 3 of them and only netted 1 goal in a draw. So Tottenham underperforms when they're playing their crosstown rivals. And yeah, I mean, it just looked like another one of those Postecoglou games where the players aren't quite getting what he's wanting them to do. And Crystal Palace capitalized. Obviously, yeah. I mean, the Mateta goal, after they got that, they had a couple more shots, but it really was damage control. Let's not concede, and it worked out for them.
They did indeed. And now I have relieved myself of having to ever pick them to win another game because they caught a team that should be at the top of the table. So fulfilled that, done, don't have to worry about it anymore. Then we move to the pick that really saved us both. West Ham beats Manchester United 2-1. A perfect pick for the both of us. This one, the late breaker goes our way. 90+2 penalty for Jared Bowen.
Yeah, there was some speculation as to whether it should have been a penalty or not. I thought De Ligt got enough of Danny Ings. Obviously, VAR did as well. Awarded the penalty, and it turns out it was a pretty decisive penalty because Man U's looking a little different nowadays.
We'll get to that more in our preview episode.
Absolutely.
Because
but West Ham they did great. I felt like Man U was kind of pouring it on them. Like, it was not a poor effort from Man U, and certainly not the greatest of showing from West Ham. But again, one of those where 74th minute you get the first goal. Casemiro brings it back in the 81st. A late breaker at the end. But boy, this was a game that felt like classic West Ham. Grind it out.
Yeah.
Get a couple of breakaway chances, get a goal, get a penalty. So it felt like West Ham's kind of moving back into who they are and their identity. And Man U, again, they were organized, you could say, but just not a lot of offense. And we'll see if that actually changes.
We'll see. Ugh, they are so far out of position from where they're supposed to be. It's really disappointing. But the perfect pick did get you, not into positive territory, but at least not into terrible territory. Just bad. And then for the last one, Arsenal and Liverpool 2-2 draw with Mo Salah getting the point back there in the 81st minute for Liverpool. This one went the way that I had a perfect Sunday. We'll just put it out there. It's true. I had a perfect pick. All my picks were right. So I live to pick another day after this set of matches. But, Arsenal looked good in the first half. They fell off in the second half, kind of let Liverpool come at them. But it was a very tactical match more than anything else.
Yeah, I almost had a perfect pick here. I picked Arsenal to win 2-1. I think at the end, having two of their starting center backs out for this match really put Arsenal in a position where you have guys that just haven't been playing that much, playing long matches, and I think it finally caught up to them. But if anyone was going to score and get a point for Liverpool, it was going to be Mo Salah. Yeah. So kudos to them. That puts City on top of the table, though.
It does.
So I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, and that is a perfect bridge into our quarter of the season review for the table. Now, I went through and I crunched the numbers and compared it to what we picked at the beginning of the season. And guess what? We start off very well. We both had Manchester City winning the whole thing, and they are currently on top. So that's good. But pretty much immediately it goes awry because neither of us thought that Liverpool was going to be this good. They've played very well. Now, has their schedule been a little bit kind? Sure. But they've also played some big boys and done well against them. So I think they've fully earned being second. We just didn't think that they would be able to maintain that sort of level. Now, Arsenal, we both thought would be up in this mix. I actually had them at third. You had them at fourth. Oh, sorry, you had them at second. So they're right where we think that they should be in the end. As well as Aston Villa, we both had them finishing fifth. They're currently in fourth, but it's very tight there. Once you get outside of first and second, it's very tight. 18, 18, 17, and 16, 16 for the next couple positions, down to some of our surprising ones. Chelsea's a little bit lower than I thought, about where you thought at this point, or a little higher than you thought. We've got them split kind of between us too, but they're on the move. We'll see. We'll see if they can get some consistency into them. Then BHA, good old Brighton Hove Albion, doing better, certainly better than you thought they would be. You had them down in 14th. Now, looking at their schedule, they have had a little bit of an easier schedule here to begin with, but not as much as the next team here, Nottingham Forest. They had the shock win over Liverpool a couple weeks ago that really helped boost their numbers. But in the way that my Wolves have a very nice end of the calendar year, it's the opposite for Nottingham Forest. They currently have 16 points, and looking forward, they'll be lucky to get double digits out of the next 2 months. They've got a tough road to hoe coming up here in the next November and December. With they have to go away to Arsenal, away to City, away. They have home Aston Villa, they have home Spurs, and they've got something there that they could do well in. I mean, they've got Ipswich Town, but they'll be fighting. They host Newcastle and West Ham, who are beatable sides, obviously, but still, you're probably not going to get points away at Arsenal, away at Man City, and Aston Villa at home. It's debatable whether you're going to get a point there. So we'll see how Nottingham Forest finishes out this calendar year, because then they move into a little bit more of an easier portion of the schedule after that. So they could bounce around a little bit here. We currently have them as our worst pick. You had them finishing 19th.
Yeah, that 12 position difference not looking great right now. There's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
And by that I mean they would have to lose every single match probably just to get back down there. But there's stranger things have happened.
My 14th is certainly still in play. I had them finishing in 14th.
Certainly. Oh, yeah.
And then next up is Tottenham on the table. Tottenham, they're underperforming. And they've got Aston Villa up next. We'll see. We had them doing better, just overall. Brentford in 9th, higher than both of us had them by a good bit. I have them finishing in 15th and you in 18th. So, yeah, Nottingham Forest and Brentford, and then on the opposite end, Manchester United are really skewing our results here. I should have pulled the median result for us just to kind of get rid of the outliers, but I didn't pull that number. I haven't taken AP statistics for a long time, so I did not pull that number. Then getting into the middle of the pack, after Brentford in 9th, we've got Fulham and Bournemouth, and then Newcastle United, then West Ham, and then Man U way down in 14th. Certainly not where they thought they would be at the beginning of the season. Followed by Leicester City, who you picked as the relegated team. Oh, sorry, the promoted team, as well as Ipswich Town, who right now it's going to be close. I don't feel like none of the teams are as bad as they were last year. Southampton is probably the worst, but even then, I feel like they have a chance at getting some. Their defense just is letting them down, and they're only on 6 points. But I think, let's see, did I have Southampton? I had Southampton finishing in 16th, so I'm not too tied to them. You had them finishing in 20th, so good on you for that. But then after Leicester, Everton is still hanging around. Crystal Palace in 17th. Ipswich Town now down in the relegation zone at 18th, and my Wolves are on the ascendancy. They're now 19th. They're going to be out of the relegation zone by Christmas. Put it out there now. But in total, as opposed to the first time we checked, which I did not mark it down. I think it was like at Matchday 4 or something. I was at 3.75 plus or minus difference. Now up to 4.1. Not the way we want to go. You were at 4.5 places off. And now you're at like 5 3/4 roughly. So both of us are moving in the wrong direction, and pretty quickly at that. So hopefully these next 2 months are a little bit kinder to our preseason predictions and don't make us look like total fools. But, we can only do so much. We already made the picks. It's the players that have to figure it out now.
Yeah, some picks definitely still in play. My Brighton and Nottingham picks not looking too great. At this point, it's just damage control. If they can start to inch further down, then the gap will close. And depending on how we decide to pointage it, I won't lose as many points as I might have if they stay in their current positions. But, yeah, I mean, Man U, they're obviously the most notable, most surprising one. And, boy, this isn't the worst pointage they've been at this stage. In 2019-2020, they were at 10 points through 9 games. But they weren't this far down the table. I think it's the lowest they've ever been on the table to this point. So fans are restless. They want to see change. And obviously, as a City fan, I wouldn't mind if they just decided to get relegated. I think that'd be pretty cool to see, a top 6 get relegated. I just think it'd be cool for the culture. They don't have to stay down long, but just know that giants can be slain.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get quite up to the 4th that you had predicted them. That'd be quite the movement.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that? I'd imagine so. I'd imagine so. But anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
It can only go up from here as far as picks. I mean, 2-8. That is the worst performance, I think, of my predicting career.
Here's something funny, though. You do have 2 perfect picks. 1st and 20th. So, you're just sorting it out from the outside in. You're going to work it down. Eventually you're going to sort out a little bit better. But you've got 1st and you've got 20th figured out.
It's a long season.
It's a long season. All right. Well, until we get to our preview episode a little bit later this week, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you on the other side. Not gonna miss.